Hey guys, my name is Dan Barreto. I got second place at the Chara Expo 2019 at Anaheim, Los Angeles, California. Before we get started, I want to thank this channel for giving me the opportunity to share my deck profile and my experiences at the regional. It has been a long time since I've gone to a regional, so it's really exciting, and I hope you guys enjoy. So let's get started on the deck profile. Alright guys, here's my deck profile. First let's get started off with the sweet markers. Run one of each of my boys, Masquerade, Blessed Dark, and Mordred. This is from the Chara Expo. You never really ever use them. They're just really pretty. I haven't had at all a chance to use them at the regional, so no need. Then these beautiful black and blue Force 1 markers that were given as gifts, and did some trades with people at Chara, so thank you guys for that. Alright, anyway, let's get started on the deck profile. So, my favorite starter, Revengers, Crisis. He's just cool looking to me. I know Doge is really cute, but he just looks really cool. Anyway, for Mordred, not really much to say. He is the whole, star of the deck besides Blaster Dark, so you need him. One thing I always suggest to players is, and what I did was I always placed my force marker on Vanguard on the first ride, never off to the side. And as I'm explaining the deck profile, I'm pretty much going to be repeating the same thing. It's always about playing 1 or 2 on your center line and then 1 or 2 on your right. I don't really like spreading them just because there's a lot of field control in this format, so it isn't as effective as having a really strong center line and like 1 really strong rear guard. So next would be Lunge. I'm tempted to run 4, but I draw him enough, so far good. He's the great finisher. I like riding him over my Mordred as even a second ride if I play enough Blaster Darks and just, like I said, power up my center line and then go for it. I think throughout the tournament I've used it on the sideline maybe once or twice as a rear guard, but mostly as Vanguard. And then the beautiful Blaster Darks. The whole deck revolves around it. I was actually riding him as Vanguard a lot. That twin drive is really strong. Yeah, you're losing a Blaster Dark, but that extra pressure you're applying towards your opponent with that twin drive was really beneficial, and I was able to hit a fair amount of critical triggers here and there, so I do like riding him as Vanguard. And then Cool Boy, Masquerade, deck thinning. Deck thinning's deck winning. If I don't ride Blaster Dark, I ride him. Nothing really else to say about him. Then I run 2 Cursed. I probably used him 2 or 3 times in the tournament, if I remember correctly. His counter charge is really strong, playing it over, my grade 1s and whatnot. If not, he was a good discard fodder for the Perfect Guards and Blaster Dark. And then 1 Bird. I didn't run more than 1, just because I didn't want to ride him. There was a chance that I can ride him that I'm deck thinning a lot, and there was actually one time where I almost had to ride him, so I actually used him as discard, so I had to G assist or V assist for the grade 2. So there's a lot of field control, so he's not as effective against, compared to Bermuda or playing against anything else, but 1 is for sure. I would, even later on, I'd still always run 1. And I actually ran 4 of this guy. The Soul Blast to get rid of your Blaster Dark from the Soul from riding him is really nice. That way you can combo it with Masquerade. But that blocking, that extra block to be able to grab from your back row is really useful, especially against those really aggressive decks early game. And against Narukami, when they wipe your front board field and they don't pull anything up, at least you can use your front row to protect. And instead of running just 1 or 2, I ran 3 just because I wanted to see him more often. I'm still kind of on and off with him. It really depends on the format. This 3 slots can be pretty much moved around with anything. So, but he's good. I every time I've ridden him, I was fine. Every time I drew him, I was fine. I was never upset of getting him. And then the rest is pretty standard. My Dapper Boy, Masquerade. He has saved me a lot, which I'll talk more about later. But great card, great booster. The lovely grade 1. Draw, really good early game pressure. I would have Blaster Dark as Vanguard, Masquerade is left or right, and then her on the left or right with that plus 5k in the draw. It's just that early game pressure is really important for this deck. And one of the best cards, the mains, that deck thinning, deck winning, gets you all the pieces you need. Your extra copy of yourself, the bird, the black winged, And the triggers are pretty standard. So we have our 4 draw, we got our 4 heal, and then we have our 8 crit. So really straightforward trigger lineup. I don't really think you should mess around with it. The deck needs the critical pressure to be able to really, stress your opponent out. I don't think the extra draw is needed because you have the Domain and the Sword Breaker to deck thin for that winning. So that's the deck profile. I hope you guys like the deck profile. Now we're actually going to be going to my local shop in Sonoma County, and we're actually going to be talking about the regional experience, what I played against, and my overall experience at the convention. Stay tuned for it. I hope you guys are ready to munch on some popcorn and enjoy the story, and I really hope you guys like the deck profile. See you guys right there. Welcome to my locals in Sonoma County, Fundemonium. So let's go inside. While we're walking over there, I guess I'll give you a quick little adventure story of how it was getting into that convention center. Fortunately, we got a pretty nice, easy hotel, and we were able to get pretty close, but man, the lines are crazy. If you see those pictures, they were just chaotic. I mean, overall, the experience was a lot of fun. Making it in second place was great, but more than that, it's meeting all these people, playing against all these, cool, different concept decks, which I'll talk about, and just overall the experience of being in an environment like that. There was a concert going on, there was that wrestling match, the little anime, kiosks, and it was cool. But more than anything, we're here to talk about what I played against and how it was in that tournament. Let's go inside. So, got some notes here. We'll go by round 1, which was playing against God Hand. Applied really early pressure. They unfortunately didn't draw God Hand. They were hitting all the fronts, but wrong grade 3. Round 2 was against Shadow Paladins. I applied really early aggression. I was able to go first. I damaged them 2 Blaster Darks, but they were fortunately drawing their Blaster Darks and going into grade 1 Masquerade to bring more Blaster Darks out. It was close, but that early game pressure, they couldn't. They had to use a lot of block, midway through the game, so able to get them there. Round 3 was Genesis. This one actually caught me off guard. I didn't really get to play against Genesis very much, so I didn't really know what to do besides just Perfect Guard, the grade 3 and the Valkyrion. But he played the grade 1 Witch of the Frogs Melissa, which reset my board. I had the perfect setup of Blaster Dark, Mordred, and a Danger Lunge. He was able to protect it, but then he Melissa'd, reset my board. I ended up playing on Blaster Dark, and I think it was a Trigger, and I think another Danger Lunge, but I couldn't do anything with him. And then he did it again, and then it came out to 2 2 Masquerades on there, and then another Blaster Dark. So at this point, he was trying to kill my Masquerade, because at this point he couldn't kill me, I was still at 4, but I blocked my Masquerade, so that way I had the 2 Blaster Darks in my discard. My turn came, used 2 of my Masquerades, brought out 2 Blaster Darks, stacked all these triggered. I ended up top decking I believe my final Danger Lunge, and just went, and he lost. So it was really, really cool. That Melissa is a really cool tech. It messes up boards, so I like that. Round 4 is Narukami. He unfortunately had the G assist in grade 2, which was helpful to me. He ended up playing the Gauntlet Buster, damage restriction. Really all I had to do was, put my markers on grade 3, mostly, and then maybe 1 or 2 on my right side rear guard. And I just held my Blaster Darks. I held them. I built my markers with grade 3s first, and then once it was time, when he had I think it was 5 or 6 cards in hand, that's when I dumped my Blaster Darks and then went for the push. Round 5 was against a Vision player, Murakumo. I hate that deck. It's a really hard deck to play against. It was really back and forth. At the very end, he was applying a lot of pressure on his final swoop. I was just applying a lot of pressure, and he just didn't have very many cards, easy block, so I was able to dwindle his hand. So on his, I believe, first grade 3 ride, he kind of had to push hard. And he was just fortunate. I hit the heal trigger at the end, and I was able to block just enough and then finish him off with my blaster darts. Now, great. Round 6, I was against Narukami. I played against a new friend of mine, Curtis. Really nice guy. It was really back and forth. It was just a very controlling game. He was damage denying me. I ended up having to hold on to my blaster darts until that final push where I dropped them all once, he had 6 or so cards in hand, similar to the Narukami play, but he didn't have the G assist and it was a very long game. So, very good. Shout out to you, Curtis. Round 7, Murakumo, I had to G assist. He hit critical triggers twice. He was just getting all the pieces, and it was so back and forth that at the very end, he did his push, and it was me top decking. I top decked the Nemains, rested, got the Swordbreaker, and at this point, all I needed was a Danger Lunge because I already had, I think, 3 markers on my left side. Drew into a critical trigger. He had enough guard. He ended up, sweeping me up after. Yeah, it was a tough game. And then round 8, Aquaforce. He actually caught me off guard with Maelstrom with his restand. Fortunately, I blocked super early, so even when he did Glory, I was able to take all the hits. Then again, right after, just pushed him. Nabutama, another Vision player. It was pretty bad. Nicest guy, really cool guy. But, Nabutama, we know you're supposed to rush him, drop your hand, because you're going to, discard your entire hand. I ended up drawing into triggers. It was just I had a huge hand, great defensive, but then he ended up doing Jimmy on Congo and then the Crow and made me discard 7, and well, what else could I do? I was able to apply some pressure, but, he was only at, I think it was at 4 damage at the end of it, so then he came back at me and I couldn't block, because my hand was gone, so. By the skin of my teeth, I made it the top 8. I ended up actually, my first round of top 8 was against the Murakumo player that I lost against. It was like an anime moment for sure. It was really back and forth. Same thing. I had to G assist. He hit the double crit. He was just getting everything. I ended up running Mordred first. I got a blaster dart, put it on my centerline Vanguard. He attacked me. I got down to 5 damage. I drew my Danger Lunge, played it, got my last marker, and I just swung. I was like, look, here, Danger Lunge effects. He was at 2 damage. He's like, whatever, I'm just going to take it. I hit 2 crits. Totally threw him off guard, and that's, I won. And then the second round after that, with the top 6, was against Tachikaze. And, unfortunately, I was able to kind of control a little bit with Blaster Dark at the very beginning, get rid of his, gauge creators. He just didn't have that extensive, crazy push for his grade 2, rush. So just, I was just had enough time to, beat him down before he can do his ultimate play with grade 3. And then the final top 2 is against another Tachikaze. It was pretty crazy. It was real close. Actually, a video was recorded of our match. You guys will be able to see it if Bushiroad posts it up. But long story short, on my first grade 3 ride, actually before that, I was pressuring him really, really hard with my Masquerades and Blaster Dark and just trying to get him as much. He got down to 3. My first grade 3 ride, I rode Mordred, got my Blaster Dark on the marker on the side, and then I went for the push. And Mordred hit 2 crits, and technically that was game, but he healed right on the 6 damage, and blocked my Blaster Dark, and literally just went, dumped everything. I blocked for a trigger to pass because if he didn't hit a trigger, I would have had just enough to block it, but he hit 2 triggers. And then he had swung for 7 times. I mean, I was at 2 damage. I didn't have enough. I didn't hit any. I think I hit 1 defensive trigger, but those touches are really huge. So it was a fun experience. I can't thank everybody enough for being so cool. The judges being really nice and patient, and all the players I played against. It was an honor playing against all of you, and I want to say thank you. So that was my experience and all the pairings I played against. So. If you're at this far in the video, I want to thank all of you guys, and thanks for watching, and I really hope you like the deck profile, and I really hope you like my little story. Again, I want to give a shout out to this channel, shout out to my cameraman, my friend, all my other friends at the card shop who helped me get my deck and train me to get ready for the regional, and thank all of you for being so cool and patient and giving me a chance to share this with you. See you guys.